Hi, this is your girl Felicia P. Johnson, and I'm here today to share with you once again on Let's Clear Bad Air. This is part 5. And the last time we spoke, I gave you a little bit more information about my family history and the background of my father, and I told you about the 3P factor, and we also discussed earlier. We talked about the rough draft of a book that I had written, Passing on the Gift. So if anyone out there has come in contact with that, please email me at FeliciaPickettJohnson@gmail.com. I really would like to have that back. So you can also call me at 251-625-5842 and let me know if you have a copy of that book. So some of the information that I'm sharing here with you, you should be able to identify whether or not you have a copy of that particular rough draft. And I also want to say that one of the characters in that particular non-published book, which was just an unorganized rough draft, one of the characters in that book was my high school sweetheart. And I talked about how he and I would go to the fair each year, and prior to me going with my best friend as a child, how he and I would go to the fair, and he was always warm. He was such a loving person. He was just a genuinely good guy. He really was. He was just a good guy, and he was just always warm. He was always affectionate, and I so appreciated that about him. However, young love is what young love is. But I just wanted to say that particular character in the book, my high school sweetheart, he passed away in 2010. And, it was really sad to hear that. And it just really, it really still, it bothers me. It really does. It bothers me. He was just a good guy. And that's just life. That's life. So I think it's important, as one of my teammates from school, when we was running track from college, was just recently saying on Facebook, when you have friends, people people you care about in some way, whatever way, you need to let them know, because we just don't know when life is going to end. And he was a young man. He was a young man, and he had done so well for himself. I was so proud of him, so happy for him, and he lived a good life. He lived a decent life, and it just really bothered me that he passed away. Although, you have those people who you grew up with, you never see them, you never talk to them, years go by, but it's just the idea of knowing that they're here in the earth, that if you wanted to reach out to them, you could. You're happy to see them when you do, because you get to know that they're okay, they're doing all right. You wonder what people are doing in their lives and how they're feeling, what's happening with them. And many people are sick, they're shut in, and we don't think, as young people at 15 or 16 years old, that one day we may be that person who we see is in a nursing home, or who is shut up in their house because of some physical misfortune, a health misfortune. And so when you see these people, you're glad to know that, hey, they're okay, and you just move right on along with life, as life is. So I just wanted to share that with you, that the particular character in that book, Passing on the Gift, my high school sweetheart, that he passed away. And, we just keep his family lifted up in prayer. So I wanted to share with you today my particular subject for clearing the air is my signature poem. My signature poem is a tribute to the African American male. And this poem has a lot of controversy surrounding it for many different reasons, although it also has a lot of accolades surrounding it. I had the opportunity to perform this poem on the stage of the Apollo Theater in New York City. I made it through the auditions, and I'm not quite sure if it was a tie for third place between myself and another young man who sung the song I Can't Complain, or I Won't Complain, or if I actually won third place or if he won third place. Some say that I won, some say he won, so I don't know. I have to check with the Apollo to see about that. But nonetheless, it wasn't all about winning. It is not about winning right now as I'm speaking. It was more about having the experience of being on that Apollo stage and just making it to the point that I did, because that's a tough crowd. Those, whew, man, I found out that Luther Vandross was on the Apollo stage 8 times before he actually won. Can you imagine Luther? Did it take him to go to the Apollo stage 7 times and repolish himself and repolish himself and repolish himself to reach such a level of perfection that we came to know him as, to win that 8th time? That was a bit of history that I learned from that experience about Luther Vandross. And I was just amazed because he's such a wonderful performer. I mean, just outstanding singer. I mean, such a clear, crisp voice. I just could never imagine that the Apollo Theater was that harsh on Luther Vandross. So I guess we have to contribute his perfection and his outstanding voice, give the Apollo Theater crowd a little bit of credit. So anyway, like I said, I wanted to share and talk to you about the poem, a tribute to the African American male. We get into the graphics of it. We'll get into its origination. And I'm not going to perform the poem for you. Maybe sometime at another time later or what have you. But as of right now, I'm just going to give you a little history, a little overview about the poem. So here it is. So what we have here is the map, the continent of Africa. And as you see this little dip here, this is signature of the individual who actually did the graphics on this poem. Now, when I wrote the poem, what I envisioned was grapes. So I wanted to have the poem in the middle, and I wanted a vine with grapes off to the side, like the little Adam and Eve type look, with the vines and the grapes, hanging down over the poem with the nice purple and green background. So that's what I had envisioned for the graphics on the poem, and this is what I asked him to do. So I went to Mr. Julius, who was the owner of the African M Club here in Mobile, and he was the only person I knew at the time who had his own shop, and it was Afrocentric, and who could possibly uh, draw. I actually wanted him to do the drawing, but he was doing the computer graphics. But I actually thought that he would be able to draw the scene that I wanted. And so I took it to him, and this is what I told him that I wanted him to do, and to just do his best, and I'll take a look at it, and I'll see if that was going to be what would work for me as far as what I was envisioning. So when I came back to Mr. Julius, he had all of these other graphics on here on this poem and had framed it, and I thought it was really nice. I said, wow, I never thought of that, and all I saw was, a queen and the continent of Africa. I didn't even think about it being his signature logo for his shop, with the little dip on the tip of the continent there, the way it was drawn. And that's what his logo was. And I didn't think about any of that. I just thought, wow, he came up with something that was a little bit more unique than what I had envisioned. So since he had put the work into it, I just went ahead and accepted it as it was and said, hey, this is great. I like this. Well, then I come to find out later, as I had put it on t-shirts, and then I was selling the poem, that it had so many other connotations for other groups as well as individuals, such as people in Egypt because of the pyramids, Islam due to the picture of Queen Nefertiti and how she was queen to the Pharaoh, and how all of that played into the Middle Eastern schema of religion. And also the poem, when you put these images with the poem, people, I guess you could say, people who are of that Islamic or Muslim background, or maybe the Middle East, they incorporate that also with slavery. So I didn't see any of that when he showed this to me. I didn't see myself as being one captured into the movement of slave trade of women. The Queen Nefertiti represented beauty. She was a very positive symbol, and I would imagine his mindset was one of positivity at the time as well. I would imagine that he envisioned himself and his wife in this poem, and so he put himself into this poem through these images as an expression to the one he loved, because I didn't know him. I only knew him as the person who owned the African M Club, and he was into the artistry of what was happening with us at the time, with the young man artist A.C. Smith, who was formulating the art group. And So anyway, I went on to the M Club and asked him to. Well, actually, the art group came after the poem and the graphics here that Mr. Julius did for me at the M Club. So it was actually through that channel that I got introduced to AC, who is an artist, and I later joined his art organization. So it's a tribute to the African American male. So I just kind of wanted to clear that up for people. This was not the original idea or intent for this. It means these images, they don't have any political meaning for me. I am not speaking to any political arena. I am not prophesying anything in this poem. I am not forecasting for the Middle East as to something that is to come. I am not representing myself as some type of future queen, as that particular area or region has in their ideology or theology of what is to come in the future of their religion. This has nothing to do with any of that. And I just never changed it. I left it as it was. And I just never had, I won't say necessarily didn't have the opportunity, but maybe didn't take advantage of the opportunities that may have presented themselves to actually have it as I had asked him to do in the beginning, which was that of the grapevines. The grapevines. So this is what that is all about with the graphics on this. So if you should ever see it, because there is a videotape out there of it with me performing it, and it shows the frame piece of work on the in the background. So this is what that is all about. It doesn't have any significant meaning to me. This was strictly his interpretation of what he felt and what he gathered from the poem. And that was this is his own self-expression of what he saw, I guess, of himself and the love of his life, his wife. So I mean, I was impressed with it, and I'm still impressed with it. It's just that people have other interpretations of it that is not impressive, and it has been a conflict for me. So I just shun away from the poem being exposed with these images, because it draws. Even though the poem is great and draws positivity, the images going along with it also creates that negativity as well. So, or misperceptions. I won't say negativity. I would just say wrong interpretations and perceptions about what the poem is actually saying. And it's not prophesying. If it is prophesying, then hey, you tell me what is prophesying, because I don't know. Now, I was going through a couple of things in life at the time, and I actually wrote the poem in little bits and pieces, and I just scribbled them down on my yellow notepad, and I think I probably had wrote most of it the first day. I was just writing lines, phrases, and then I tidied it all up on that second day, and then voila, that was the result. The end result of it was a tribute to the African American male. Now, I was a very active member in the Student Government Association at the University of South Alabama. At that time, we called it the Black Student Union. Now they call it something else now. But we were the Black Student Union, and we were governed by Miss Cora Gwynn. She and Dr. McIver also was very influential in what we did with our Black History Month programs. And so together they pulled from the talent of students who did oral interpretations, dramatic presentations, and singing and dancing and instruments and things of that nature, and put together very nice Black History Month programs and talent shows. And I was always a part of that. Well, there was a young man who was just a dynamic speaker by the name of Robert Davis. And he did a poem by, I believe it was Langston Hughes. And in the poem, the character was Smoke King. And he would say, "Fire, fire lord, fire lord." And he talked about this particular guy who was going through these different what do you want to say, transitions, I guess you would say, in his life, and he was calling on the Lord. And anyway, the character was the Smoke King. And so when I began to write this poem, I was reflecting upon Robert doing that particular poem, and I was like, you know, this is my Smoke King. This is the kind of Smoke King that I envision. So we're not talking about somebody riding on a fire truck and the firehouse, and no, not talking about that. So really, you know, the foundation, the crux of it, the term Smoke King, the character Smoke King actually originated from the thought of Mr. Robert Davis reading this particular poem, or doing his dramatic interpretation of this particular character, Smoke King, from a poem that was written by Langston Hughes. And I just reflected upon that and made my character, my African American male, a different type of Smoke King. I was like, this is what Smoke King is to me. Smoke King is not this character going through these changes. This Smoke King is a beautiful black man. And it wasn't even all about a dark-skinned man per se, because black men come in all shades, and I love all shades. So it's really a celebration of the black male, and I would hope that what he would gain from that is a higher self-esteem, a higher level of thinking of his image and who he is in God. And on the other side of that women would gain some hope to know that all is not lost in our relationships with our black brothers. We can still have what you would call these fairy tale relationships. You can still have good communication and a good marriage with the black man. Are they out there? I believe these Smoke Kings are out there. I believe they are. Might be hard to find, might be far and few in between, but this should give you hope. So that is what this is all about. That's a part of it. It was the original concept of the character, and then it just became it became more personal for me. There's personal aspects of this poem, of course. That's all a part of writing. It's part of your part of your writing is part of your experiences. And but to give the character that name, Smoke King, it it actually came from the poem that Mr. Robert Davis was given by Miss Cora Gwynn at the University of South Alabama to perform in one of our Black History Month programs, to which he did such a wonderful job. And there are videos of these different programs that we had. The one I have no idea where it is at this time, but maybe some of the other people out there, or maybe the school even has it in its archive somewhere. Certainly Miss Gwen or Dr. G. McIver would probably have a copy of these different skits and dramatizations that we performed back during the years in the late 1980s and like between 86 and in the early 90s. So again, this is your girl Felicia P. Johnson. I hope I've cleared the air on that regarding a tribute to the African American male, Smoke King, and also in passing on the gift. A lot of things, now I won't say a lot, but there are a few things written within passing on the gift that are not true. They were used, it was what I wrote as examples, or something that I wrote to make the story better. So it's like editing while you're writing, but not actually editing. So there are some pieces in there that's not true. So it wasn't decided if the book was going to be a memoir, a biography, or if I was going to make it into a novel. None of that. It was really just filtering at the time and brainstorming too. So again, this is your girl Felicia. This is part 5 of Let's Clear Bad Air. You have a wonderful, blessed, and prosperous week.